Here we go.
Blog Talk Radio.
Live from Washington, D.C., it's Quintessential Listening, Poetry Online Radio. Now, here's your host, Dr. Michael Anthony Ingram.
Good evening, everyone. This is Michael Anthony Ingram. I'm here tonight with Kianga Dauphin. Kianga, hello, how are you?
Hi, Michael. How are you? I am good. I am really excited.
Well, fantastic. I'm glad that you're here with me tonight. As I've had an opportunity to read some of your work, it's beautiful, and I just want you to be yourself tonight and share whatever comes to your mind and to your heart, okay?
Thank you, yes.
All right. Well, let me ask this beginning question. What is poetry?
Yes. For me, poetry is like self-expression. It's a way to, like, for me, just to purge. I say it in another way, I guess. But to just, like, get out that intense emotion that I'm feeling. Some people also think of it as a form of art, written art. But to me, that's what poetry is.
All right. It's a way to purge. I don't think I've ever heard anyone describe it that way before. Very nice. A way to purge, to get it out of your system in a way that's not detrimental to your system. Right. Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
Why do you think, and this is just a little nuanced question in terms of what I just asked, that it's important? Why is it important?
Well, poetry is important because, I don't know, it's just like another thing. It's like a painting, it just gives beauty to the world. It's just another, sometimes artistic form. And, for me also, it's necessary because, like I said before, it's a way, to just get out some of that emotion. A lot of times, I tell people, like, if I know the poem's good if tears are streaming down my face when I'm done, because it's just so cathartic.
Yes. I like that word, cathartic. What are some of the predominant themes of your work?
Well, eating disorders, a little bit of suicide ideation, and sexual assault, I guess. I did some love.
Okay.
There's some love.
There's some love in there, too? All right.
Yeah,
well,
there's a little love in there, too.
Just a little love. Please share a poem for us tonight.
Okay. How about one about my mother? She is very supportive of me, and is just like a total inspiration. And she's been around from the beginning of my life. I'm just trying to come up with the perfect one. Okay, this one's called Mama. You bore the life that grew inside me. You nurtured the free soul that was assigned to my helpless, frail body. I can only imagine the primal connection, being held in your arms in the beginning. The same connection I feel now. Before I knew how to love, I used to just play at your heartstrings. You were my goddess, my temple at which I laid my head and prayed for your protection, your wisdom, your strength, your guidance. You bring the sun on my cloudy days. You are the moon in my quiet night sky. You sat up with me and held me close when I couldn't bear to face this world alone. You gave me dignity when I was ashamed of who I was. I'm so proud you are the lighthouse I steer my boat towards on those cold, stormy nights. My heart aches every time I leave your warm embrace. Onlookers will never understand how deep our instinctual bond grows every day. Thank you.
Wow. That was beautiful, Kianga.
Oh, thank you.
It was beautiful. you shared that you are the lighthouse that I steer my boat towards every day?
Yes.
Wow. Powerful line.
Yeah.
Powerful, powerful line. How does a poem begin for you? With an idea, a form, or an image?
For me, it begins more with an emotion, like an intense, just like soul feeling that's just deep and, kind of takes over. And then I guess it forms an image.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then
now, do you? No, please,
yeah, go ahead.
Please continue. I'm sorry. I interrupted. I'm sorry.
Well, actually, no. I mean, I don't know where to go after that.
All right. Now, do you sit and think through every word of every stanza, or do you write freely and allow the words to flow?
I write freely and allow the words to flow, and then I go back and, edit and things. But, yeah, it usually tends to flow out at first.
Please share another poem.
Okay. This one is called A to B. It's a poem about my eating disorder. It's kind of it's titled A to B because it's basically kind of it's anorexia to bulimia. So, okay, here it goes. There is a point when you become tired of the bland and the water. You crave flavor, fullness, sugar, soda, a healthy balance. But by then, it's not a choice anymore. You have this goal. You have no choice but to attain. It's your obsession, your breath, your life, your moral fiber. It's so ingrained that you dream of the foods and how they'll look when they come back up. It's no longer a lack of food, but an overabundance that you cannot resist. The obsession cannot get out of my head. I have to have them, so then I have to get rid of them. Thank you.
Wow. You're really honest in your poetry, Kianga.
I'm sorry. Like I said in my bio, I mean, at first, the only people I would share my poetry with was my therapist and my mom. And I never really expected anybody else to hear it.
Well, how does it feel to have other people hear it now?
I feel a little
I know we're
naked.
just beginning this journey. You like it?
I mean, because I'm not hearing anybody besides you speak, so I mean, I feel okay, but
well,
I
good.
still do feel a little naked.
That's okay. That's okay. Because I'm here with you, and you're speaking from your heart. You're sharing your story, and that's what's most important. All right?
Mm-hmm.
All great writers have great writing influences. Who are some of yours, and what makes them special and or great in your eyes?
Well, back to my mother. She's actually a very great writer. And, like I said in my bio also, she used to read great poets to me like Langston Hughes and Lucile Clifton and people like that. And they're just very inspirational. Another poet who's, somebody actually once told me that one of my poems sounded a little bit like her was Maya Angelou. And I was just honored.
Yeah.
I should find that poem. That's a pretty good poem. But yeah, my mother, writes, and she writes well. She's actually a doctor, but writing was something that she did to also express herself. And English wasn't her first language, and so at first, she was put down and told, "Oh, you can't write." So one day, a black teacher told her, it's like, you have a gift, and you need to, use it. And she did. and and then she instilled that power in me.
Very nice, very nice. What was an early experience where you recognized that poetic language had power?
Well, I think of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s speeches kind of as poetry, and I think that's power. How he used them to empower people, that's power, I would say.
Okay, all right. Please share another poem.
Okay, this is the one that somebody said sounded like Maya Angelou. It's another kind of eating disorder one. It's about body image, and it's called Am I Pretty Now? Does the gleam from my chiseled jawbone now cause the heat to rise under your collar? Is the rise in your pants caused from the angular structure of my now ripe hip bone? The vision of my grapefruit-sized breast clouds the memory of your own child's name? How does my corset-cinched waist suit your undersized standards? Do you find the words grotesque and cow slipping from your vocabulary? My insidious beauty now slips painfully from the now visible lines of my invisible silhouette. Perfection lies solely in the eyes of the beholder. Thank you.
That does sound like Maya Angelou.
Thank you. Wow.
Very lyrical. Very lyrical. As you think about writing a poem, what are some of the most prevalent ingredients that go into the concoction that we call a poem? What goes into it?
Well, for me, when I started writing, and a lot of times when I write, it's not to produce a poem. It's just
to
get it out. And then sometimes it just, when I show it to people, or read it to people, they're like, well, that's a poem, and then I'm like, okay. And then I kind of, rework it, sometimes to make it look more like a poem and sound a little bit more like what I think a poem is.
Anything else goes into it, into the creation of one?
No.
Share another poem for us.
Okay. Sorry, 1 second. I had them all out here, and then I just kind of maybe I shouldn't read that one.
Okay.
Okay, here's another one about eating disorder. It's called Vomit. It says, get out. You can't stay. I never wanted you in me. Temptation led to a moment of weakness, and I gave you power. But now you must leave. With every ounce of my being, I will force myself to expel you from within me. The physical pain outweighs the future mental anguish that comes with you lying within my sin. I must rip you out, tear you out, scream and cry you out of my existence. Can't live with you inside of me. Whilst praying to the porcelain god and consider myself, I examine the bloody, food-covered toothbrush in my hand. I look in the mirror and watch the tears rolling down my face intermingle with the snot and bile surrounding my mouth. I feel my now empty stomach, and a wave of satisfaction and mortification washes over me. Thank you. Sorry.
Wow. That was so powerful, Kianga. Finding a way to release.
Sorry if my dog barks in the background.
Oh, it's all right. That's no problem. That's no problem. Finding a way to release and to get it out of your system must be so important. I'm glad you found a way to do that.
Definitely. Thank you.
Please share another.
Okay, this is another one about my mother. I kind of wrote it for, it was for my poetry class that I took. It was, to just kind of write a poem about a picture. So it was a picture of me and my mother, me as like probably 4 or 5, and we're embracing at the National Mall. Okay, so this poem's called Me and You. There we are, embracing in the dying grass, more in love than ever. I am half your size, 3 shades darker, same nose, same eyes. The warmth of your motherly embrace radiates through the photograph, inviting me into memories. My cheeky grin, accompanied by your humble smile, when it used to be the 2 of us against the world. Thank you.
Let's take a brief break, and we'll be right back. We're here with Kianga Dauphin. Kianga, question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Emotions run throughout your work. Do you think that someone can be called a poet if they don't feel strong emotions?
It would be hard. I don't think so. I mean, because I think you can write poetry about a lot of things, without really having emotions. Like, you write poetry just about observations and be unjudgingly having these observations and stuff without emotion and just write about that. So, yeah, I think you can be a poet without emotions.
Now, as you think about writing, does writing energize or exhaust you?
It can energize me and it can exhaust me, sometimes because it, takes, a lot of stuff out of me, So, it's kind of like after a good cry. I mean, you feel better, but you feel, kind of drained afterwards.
Right. That is true. You do feel drained. So it takes a lot out of you. What does it pour into you?
Hope. After getting some stuff out, you feel a little bit more hopeful that the future will be better.
Anything else? Hope is very nice. What else?
When I write poetry about love and stuff. You know, it makes me fills me with joy and love, and just happiness.
Okay. Well, please share another poem. Share a poem about love.
Okay. Hold on. Okay, so was one that's called Morning. I just put them all in one long list. Okay, here we go. Morning. This is about my fiance. We lie in bed Sunday mornings and stuff, and it was just about my observations. Okay, so this is called Morning. Entwined in blankets and sheets, as is your heart with mine. Early morning is the time for reading, as you quietly snore by my side. I lightly question the expression on your pale face, as your blue eyelids flutter and dance in a dream. I write another line in a short piece, as you stir and your musk fills my nose. You are my everything, as I am yours. Thank you.
Wow. You know, some poets claim that a poem is like a living creature. Once it's out there, there's not much you can do to correct or improve it, while others edit meticulously, not leaving much from the original draft form. What is your take on it?
I'm kind of in the middle. You know, at first, when I started writing, and I started taking a poetry class, and I would submit my poems, and I would get feedback. I was just kind of like, no, I don't want to change it. I like the way it is. But then, sometimes I see, like especially comments from my teacher and stuff like that. I say, I guess that does make it sound better, or that does look better and stuff. So it could be both ways,
Mhm. Wow. I enjoy hearing you read your work. Please share another poem.
Okay. This poem is about depression. It's called For Those Who Love Me. I feel depressed. I wish you could just know when to touch me and when not to. I don't want to have to explain why I don't want to get out of bed today. There will be days when I won't be able to stop the tears from falling. I can't explain why sometimes I need to express the pain I feel emotionally in a physical way. My emotions may be volatile, and even though this can apply to my love for you, in the end, I still want you to be the one I push away when I can't stand to go on. I don't want to laugh at your jokes today or listen to you rant on about one stupid thing or another. Sometimes I don't want you to love me because I am not fit to be loved. Please read my thoughts and know when all I want from you is just your presence. The word fragile should be stamped on my forehead so you could have known what you were getting yourself into. Thank you.
Wow. The word fragile should be stamped on my forehead. You have truly a way with words.
Oh, thank you.
You really, really do. Do you think that you were meant to be a poet?
No. I just, like I said before, it's just something that helps me. I don't think it's like really like a calling. It's just something that helps me so much that, I like doing it.
Mhm.
I mean, if my words help other people, I've never really thought about that. But if they do help other people, I think that's amazing too.
Well, I'm so glad you said that because I believe that your words will help other people. But people can identify with what you're sharing. And that's what's critically important because it's not always about ourselves. It's sometimes our being able to help others and help others when we don't know that we're helping others. I'm sure there's someone tonight listening to this thinking, wow, that young woman is amazingly courageous to share her story like she's sharing it. I'm thinking that, and I'm an old man. I'm thinking that. That I think is wonderful. I really do. There's an image of poets being overcome with inspiration and having to write everything out of nowhere and at once. Does this ever happen to you, that you're overcome with inspiration?
Yes. Sometimes I have the app Word on my phone, and sometimes I just begin writing because it's just like it's coming out. So yeah, sometimes it does just overtake you. So I definitely carry my phone with me everywhere.
So when it overtakes you, who do you become? Is your persona different as a poet than it is as Kianga in everyday life?
No, I don't think so. Just, maybe I just might select my words differently, but it's still the same meaning that I have in my daily life. I mean, I think of myself as the same person. It's just, maybe not the out loud person, but I mean, if you saw me, I have a lot of tattoos and piercings and stuff, and I'm just kind of out there. So I think, sometimes I might not say things, but I'm physically out there too. So my poetry is like out there too.
Oh, wow. Well, very nice, very nice. Now, what has surprised you most about being a poet? What surprised you the most?
That I was actually a poet. That surprised me. I mean, I said before, I just wrote to get it out of my head and out of my soul, and people told me, okay, that's poetry. And I was just very surprised because, reading or listening to my mother read poetry and her writing and stuff, I always thought that was just an amazing thing to do, and I never thought that I could do it. But, yeah, so that surprised me.
Well, you're doing it. Have you thought about writing a book?
My mom says I should. I don't know, maybe.
Maybe. What would hold
if you
back
can
from
convince me,
a book?
Michael, maybe.
Well, we've already talked about how your work could potentially help others. It's already helping you, just in terms of continuing to embrace who you are. I mean, those are two strengths in itself. To be able to put it on paper, because, again, it's very powerful, it's very eloquent. I think you've got what it takes to write a book.
Thank you.
How many poems have you written so far?
I'd say maybe 15. Or maybe more than that. I kind of throw some out and, don't claim to them. And so.
Let's say that you were a published poet, all right? Kianga.
Say that again, please?
Let's say that you were a published poet, all right? And you had written this book, and you had to convince your friends and or colleagues to read it. What would you say?
I guess I would say, my poetry, a lot of it is, just about pain. So, if you need somebody to relate to you, and probably feel what you might be feeling, you can read this and see that I'm feeling the same way. Or if you want to see the real me, or understand the real me, you can read this and, you can see inside my soul.
Mm-hmm. If you had to have a famous poet serve as a mentor, who would you want it to be?
Probably Maya Angelou.
Tell me more about that.
Well, I find her very inspirational. I think, she is a great poet and, a strong Black woman, somebody, I strive to be. And just a really respectable person.
All qualities that you possess.
Oh, thank you.
You with me?
Yes. Yeah, I said thank you. I'm sorry if you didn't hear me.
Okay. Share, I know you've only got a few more poems left, but share one more for us, please.
Okay. This one's called Perfection. It's another one about self-image. Okay. Darkness creeps into the soul and mind until one day the light it does find. And from there the end has begun, but it is far too late to turn and run. The first seed is planted with a single word, said under breath, not meant to be heard. But I still heard it just the same. It shook my core and rattled my brain. Insidiously, it took over my being. It took my air, stopped me from breathing. I will never be what you had wished for, and I will never amount to anything more. From my past, I will always run, because perfection will never come. Thank you. That was a rhyming one.
How do you feel about rhyming poetry? Some people feel that it's passé and that we shouldn't do it anymore. Others are indifferent about it. How do you feel?
I think if it's done in a good way, sometimes I see poets and it's just like they pull words out of wherever just to make them rhyme, and it doesn't really make sense, So I think if you do that, that's not good. But, I think, like a good song, rhymes. So, and I think they have meaning. So, yeah, I think you can go either way with it.
Well, I mean, that brings up a question. What makes a poem good? To you. I know it's a very subjective question.
Yeah. It's, for me, if I can see and feel what the poet was probably seeing and feeling or hearing or whatever senses that they were using or emotions, if I can feel that or see, sense that, I think that's a good poem. A good poet.
Okay. As you think about being creative, and you are very creative, what does that mean to you?
I'm sorry. I don't really think of myself as creative.
You don't think of yourself as being creative. The way that you're able to pull words together and mesmerize people, you don't think that you're creative.
I just feel like I think of creative as
someone else.
Just I'm sorry. I didn't have
Well, what would it take for you to feel as if you're creative?
I guess maybe if I wrote more poems and stuff, and maybe from different aspects of views, maybe I could. I'm not sure. I don't think that highly of myself. So I mean, as you can tell from my poetry, but yeah.
Well, I think that your poetry is extremely creative. It's very touching. As I said earlier, it's extremely lyrical. You can visualize it. You can feel it. all the things that are necessary to me that makes up a person being creative.
Okay.
I think you've got what it takes. I really, really do. I'm not just saying that because I'm just hosting this show and you're my 158th guest.
I believe you know your stuff, sir.
Let's take a brief break and we'll be right back, okay?
Okay.
All right. We are back. I am Michael Anthony Ingram. I'm here with Kianga Dauphin. The program itself is a call-in show. So if you have questions for Kianga, the call-in number is 646-787-1631. Kianga, please share another poem.
Okay. This one is called Lost Child. It's about sexual assault. I was in the military and I experienced sexual assault, so I just wrote a poem about it. Always a child, that is how they refer to me. They say I haven't grown up, but yet they don't know how I had to grow up so fast. You were my hero. Your chocolate mocha skin met mine in a sea of rosy hues, and I was your sister. You were my guide. You were to guide me and mold me in your image. But you had other plans. Tu beaucoup was the line from that one movie. But you crushed my flower anyways. You bathed in my innocence, but I was a drowning fool. You were twice my size, physically and chronologically. You helped yourself to my naivety and made me believe that it was all my manufacturing. Where does trust go when it is rent from your hand, like a punishment after you grip a bird to the point of suffocation? Where do you go after the burning building that you had been sitting in collapses on your head? Who do you tell when the shame and guilt feels like it rests squarely on your shoulders? Thank you.
Wow. You know, you'll never know who you've touched tonight, Kianga, by speaking the truth through poetry. You'll never know.
That would be wonderful. I mean, if people, were able to get some comfort that other people experience the same pains.
Yes. Yes, I am so proud of you. Your willingness to share your personal story. Do you have one more for us?
Yeah. This one is another one I wrote for my poetry class. Can't really remember what the theme was, but it's called Pieces. She turns over the brown cardboard box. Out tumbles the million little pieces of my life. I sit down and slowly start connecting the splinters of different hues and silhouettes, trying to create what I think will be a perfect picture. It is hard determining where the pieces go with no reference guide. The non-linear path is tedious. Sometimes pieces do not fit together, even though you really want them to. The picture takes a shape that I have no control over. Colors become clearer, and images come into focus. 2 years ago, I began to notice rays of sunlight reflecting off of light brown eyes. I wondered where the jagged edges of peach and eddies of smoke would fit into the desolate backdrop of sin and pain. More and more fragments came together, and the vision that I had been looking for was of you. Thank you.
Wow. You know, so much is happening in the world today. We're recently experiencing a pandemic, hopefully, which will be over soon, hopefully. What do you view as being the role? What do you view as being the role of a poet in modern day society?
I guess poets can be inspiring and give hope, and I believe in common humanity, of understanding that everybody suffers, and you should be aware that everybody suffers, and just understand that and I think poetry can help people see that everybody suffers, so you're not going through it alone, and we can come together and lift each other up.
How do we do that, Kianga? How do we lift each other up? We live in such a splintered world. How do we do that?
That's a really good question. Just loving one another. I believe, love is what makes the world, or is what should make the world go around. And right now, I think money would make the world go around, but
yes.
That's another story. I believe love should make the world go around, and that we should love one another and be kind to one another. Something I try to practice every day. I smile. Even my mask that I wear says I'm actually smiling. So, I try to smile and be polite, and just even if somebody's nasty or rude to me, I try to say thank you. Okay, I will take that into consideration, or something. And I just think being kind and understanding of what other people are going through, and try to live in other people's shoes, is very important.
Empathy.
Empathy, yeah, definitely. And sympathy, yeah.
Yes, very, very important. Now, are you active on Facebook or Twitter? And if so, how does it fit into your writing?
I'm not really active on any social media. I do have a Facebook, but I rarely go on it. I'm okay. I will admit I'm a little bit older, so I don't really know too much about the social media. I don't know about too much social media. I think I might have had a MySpace. But
MySpace?
Right. Exactly. But no, I don't know anything about Twitter or the other ones. Sound like my mom now.
Well, it's funny. Now that you're going to be famous now, as a result of being on this show, you'll need to open up a Twitter page, a Facebook page, Instagram page.
Yeah. Wow.
So that people can contact you.
Okay.
To find more about what you're planning to do with your work. Well, let me ask this question. This is a fun question. All poets have several words that come up over and over and over again in their work, words that they just can't help but using. What are three of your absolute favorite words to use?
You? I know that. You, for some reason, that comes up a lot. I just love sometimes some of that's a few times.
Okay.
I'm just kind of looking right now, and I feel you a lot.
Okay. All right.
I don't really know any other ones.
Well, let me ask this question. Do you have a special place that you go to write, or is just anywhere, anytime?
Anywhere, anytime. Like I said, I carry my phone, and sometimes I'll be in the car, or sometimes even in the bathroom. Yeah. Poking my head out of the shower.
All right. Very nice. Well, we're going to close out here shortly, but I would like to hear one more poem, if that's okay.
Okay. This one is called Existence. I don't really remember when I wrote it, or really. I know it was kind of like about, a little suicidal ideation and stuff, but yeah, it's called Existence. I forget sometimes what it's like to be alive. With little vulgarisms and beats reply my heart. I don't know if I'm coming or going, like as if the air in my lungs is trying to decide whether or not to exist. With every throb of my head, I am reminded that this existence is certainly most real and most unjust. I don't know if the sick joke of a state of being is someone's parody of a lackluster dream, or just simply like these idly strewn together cliche of words. Thank you.
Wow. Kianga, you're exactly the reason why a show like this exists, to provide a forum for a person who hasn't written 3,000 poems and isn't jaded to the poetry profession, for someone to just share her work and stand in her truth. In my mind, you are a quintessential poet.
Wow. Thank you. I really appreciate that. That means a lot coming from you. I know you're a very esteemed person in poetry. So yeah, thank you so much.
Well, I'm not that esteemed, but I appreciate it. But I'm just telling the truth. This is why a show like this exists, to give people opportunities to just speak their truth. And I am so proud of you. I want to hear more of your work. I want there to be a book from you whenever you're ready for that. Keep writing, whether you share it with others or not. I mean, again, that's on you. But I know the way that you touch people, you touched me tonight. And
wow, thank you.
You've got a new fan.
Thank you.
So I want you to start thinking about. Well, we can talk privately about things in which you can do to get your work published. I need to be publishing myself, but there's some things that we can talk about in terms of submitting your work to different journals and things like that. So I'll be in touch. All right?
Okay. I look forward to hearing from you.
Yes, and I want to thank you again and give my best to your mom.
She's listening. When I made a comment about, I feel like my mother when we were talking about, what is this called again? Social media. She sent me a text saying, "Not funny."
Well, I can tell that she's an incredible person.
She's listening too.
She's an incredible person.
Oh, yeah.
So she's raised an incredible daughter, and
she
I wish you nothing but the
incredible
best.
Person.
Yes, I can tell that. I wish she was on the air with you tonight, sharing some of her poetry. Maybe we can arrange that for the future. For the both of you.
Oh, definitely. One day, yes, she needs to.
Yes, wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be nice?
We'll make that happen. Definitely.
We'll make that happen.
Okay.
Well,
okay.
I want to thank you again for being with me. And I want to thank our listening audience, as always, for listening. And as I share every week, let poetry ring. Until next time, take care. Good night, everybody. Good night, Kianga.
Good night. Good night. Thank you for having me.
Good night.
You have just listened to the Quintessential Listening Poetry Online Radio Podcast with your host, Dr. Michael Anthony Ingram. Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or Stitcher. And make sure to catch our next episode.